Of all the abilities of a Roman general, one of the most impressive was his capacity to inspire and motivate his troops to fight and often to die in the name of Rome. To achieve that, they relied on one main strategy, a powerful speech. The speech of a general or emperor was one of the most striking moments within the army and was called in Latin an adlucio. The adlatio served to display the leader's power, strengthen the soldiers' morale, and reinforce the bond between them and Rome, as well as prepare everyone for what was to come, especially before battles. This speech was a public ceremony that symbolized the commander's authority. By speaking to his soldiers, the leader showed that he was in control and kept the army's confidence. A well-crafted speech could mean the difference between victory and defeat, for it not only prepared the soldiers mentally for the challenges ahead, but also inspired them to fight with greater courage and loyalty. Julius Caesar was one of the most famous leaders for using speeches as part of his command. He delivered speeches in several campaigns, especially during the GYC War. On some occasions, Caesar delivered speeches that, besides motivating the troops, reiterated the purpose of the campaigns, often appealing to patriotism and the desire for conquest. In Versantio, while preparing to face the Germanic chieftain, Arius, Caesar realized that rumors about the Germans' numerical superiority were undermining his troops' morale. Many soldiers began to doubt the battle's feasibility, wondering whether it would be worth engaging them. To restore confidence, Caesar gave a decisive speech. He declared that even if no other legion followed him, he would confront Ariovistus with his loyal 10th Legion. Those firm, defiant words not only renewed the spirit of the 10th Legion, but also motivated the other legions, who feared being seen as cowards, to ready themselves for battle. Another example of a great speech occurred during one of General Germanicus's campaigns in Germania, when his troops began to rebel after the death of Augustus. The situation grew so tense that some soldiers even threatened to kill Germanicus, his wife Agrippina, and their son Caligula. Faced with that, Germanicus delivered an emotional speech to his men. He asked that, if necessary, they allow his family to be sent far from danger. Appealing to loyalty and duty to Rome, he urged the soldiers to uphold honor and discipline. That moment, described by Tacitus, proved decisive. Moved by Germanicus's tears, the soldiers calmed down and, instead of continuing the revolt, chose to restore discipline on their own, dealing internally with the rebel leaders. Roman art often depicted scenes of speeches delivered by the emperors, and those moments became symbols of imperial power. Emperors such as Augustus and Trajan used these images to reinforce their authority and public image. One of the most famous representations of an adlatio can be seen on Trajan's column, which commemorates Emperor Trajan's victories in Dacia, an area that is today Romania. On the column, Trajan is shown addressing his troops in several scenes. These depictions were not only about what happened on the battlefield, but also served to reinforce the idea that the emperors were leaders chosen by the Roman gods, thereby guaranteeing their legitimacy. From an oratorical point of view, the adlatio was a highly refined technique. Commanders were trained to speak persuasively, employing a range of rhetorical devices to captivate and mobilize their troops. They knew that a powerful speech would not only encourage their soldiers to fight, but would also strengthen the feeling of belonging to a greater cause. That kind of persuasion was essential to ensure that the soldiers were ready for any sacrifice, if necessary, for the empire's victory. But in the end, we know that many of those speeches were driven by the commander's personal interests, not by the well-being of the soldiers. The generals invoked the idea of saving Rome to motivate the troops. But in practice, what they really sought was to consolidate their own political and military power. And of course, the general often stayed safely away from direct danger while the troops faced the risks on the battlefield, sacrificing their lives for a cause that would chiefly benefit the commander himself. So, what do you think in the comments? And if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe.